Texas politicians love the word emergency, the same way barbecue joints love brisket. They slap it on everything. Border, emergency. Heat wave, emergency. Pandemic, triple emergency with a side of disaster declaration. If politicians could declare an emergency over potholes, we'd all be driving monster trucks to church by now. Here's the scam. If everything's an emergency, then nothing is. It's not leadership, it's panic theater. And Greg Abbott plays the role of director while the legislature sells the tickets. At this point, they should just hand out punch cards. Buy 9 emergencies, get the 10th one free. Here's what they don't tell you. Declaring an emergency isn't about solving a crisis. It's about giving the governor and his buddies a shortcut around the legislature, the Constitution, and your right to weigh in. Suddenly, contracts go without bids, rules get written without votes, and your local community gets bulldozed by urgent necessity. And while Texans are trying to figure out whether their lights will stay on this winter, Richard Hayes is in Austin treating emergency powers like a party loyalty drill. Gill is in D.C. pumping out culture war clickbait, while Texans are stuck paying for urgent policies that never end. Because once you slap emergency on a policy, guess what? You don't have to explain it, fund it honestly, or even sunset it when the crisis is over. The declaration just lingers, like that one relative who crashes on your couch and 6 months later is still between jobs. Think about it. Our border's been in a state of emergency longer than some kids have been alive. It's not an emergency, that's a business model. Same with the grid. Remember the 2021 grid collapse? We got an emergency declaration. Did it fix the grid? No, but it did fix a lot of the donors' balance sheets. Billions shoveled into energy companies while regular Texans froze in the dark. Same thing with health crises. They call it swift action. I call it executive creep with a side of legislative cowardice. If it was really an emergency, maybe it wouldn't need a press conference every other day. Here's the truth. Republicans love emergency powers when they're in charge. Democrats love them when they're in charge. And Texans get stuck living in a permanent crisis cosplay while the state bankrolls its favorite projects with your money. Liberty requires honesty. And there's nothing honest about ruling by emergency decree. Liberty means rules apply even when it's inconvenient. Emergencies are supposed to be rare, short, and solved quickly, not a permanent excuse to rule by decree. Real leadership doesn't come from perpetual panic. It comes from boring, accountable governance, budgets that balance, laws that expire, and leaders who actually have to explain themselves before spending your tax dollars. Abbott doesn't need more emergency powers. Hayes and Gill don't need more party marching orders. Texans don't need a king in cowboy boots. We need a government that follows its own rules even when the cameras aren't rolling. Texans deserve a government that remembers it's supposed to serve the people, not play act emergency forever. Remember, if everything is an emergency, then nothing is. Permanent crisis isn't governance. It's a business model. And the only thing our leaders are rescuing is their own power. If Texas is always in crisis, maybe the real emergency isn't the border or the grid. Maybe it's the politicians who can't govern without one.